Begin within, brothers! Yes, welcome back, my friends, to another Iron Warriors army blog video. And in this video, I want to focus mainly on the Iron Havocs that I've created and the conversion work I've done using the 40k Deathwatch Kill Team Frag Cannon bit to make the Iron Havoc Shrapnel Cannon weapons. So, like I've said in my previous videos, this isn't a tutorial or anything like that. But I just want to take a moment because when I very first started sort of getting tempted by the allure of Horus Heresy, and I looked at converting my Iron Warriors from a 40k force into a 30k force, one of the units that sort of jumped out to me once I found out what shrapnel guns, shrapnel bolters, shrapnel cannons, shrapnel pistols, what they all were and what they did, I fell in love with the idea that, you know, for a heavy weapon squad, for an Iron Havoc squad, I don't have to just build normal heavy bolters. I could build something quite unique, and that's what I wanted to do. I became enamored with the idea of using the 40k Deathwatch Kill Team Frag Cannon bit and using that to sort of proxy the heavy bolter, because ultimately the Shrapnel Cannon is a direct upgrade to a heavy bolter that is only accessible to the Iron Warriors. So how did I go about this? Well, historically there's only ever been two frag cannon pieces printed. You've got the generic frag cannon that you can get in the Kill Team Deathwatch box set, but then they also made a special character. The one named character that carries a frag cannon, the very first printed frag cannon that was ever made, with the Imperial Fist character Rodocrus Grit, I believe his name is. He was in the Deathwatch Kill Team Cassius box set that originally came out with the Deathwatch Overkill board game, which at the time was kind of a bit overshadowed because this was one of the first returns of the Gene Stealer cult as a force in 40k, as a force with new plastic models. But that box set itself is full of amazing characterful models, and don't get me wrong, a lot of people in this hobby, a lot of people in Horus Heresy use those characters. They take the plastics and they convert them and they turn them into squad sergeants or praetors or consuls or you name it. But I love the idea not only of having this sort of more retro style frag cannon, if you like, with extra piping and the extra sort of hand guard rail around the back of the cannon and all this, because this was the first one they made. Yeah, my choices were I could buy 10 of him, which would be exorbitively expensive, or get one of him for the squad sergeant, and then get 9 copies of the frag cannon that comes in the Deathwatch Kill Team box, which I think you only get like one of per box, and the box makes 5 guys. I think they've updated the box since then, so it's up to a squad of 10 guys and you get 2 in the box. But still, like most eBay sellers that I was contacting, you know, they might have 1 or 2 in stock and that was it. They weren't going to get more, they weren't able to help out. But before we go any further, I just want to give a massive shout out to Jamie over at Morb's Plastic Scrapyard on eBay, Morbit's Plastic Scrapyard, just for the amazing support he offered back in June of last year when I was getting the bits together, when I was putting this together, because he was willing to go above and beyond and actually source out multiple boxes of the Deathwatch Kill Team set just to put together an order of 9 shrapnel cannons. And I think that's a wonderful customer service right there, because I know very few eBay sellers that are willing to do that. So I can't recommend him enough. I'll put a link in the description down below. Check out his eBay page. Absolutely fantastic. But this was the thing. I had the idea brewing from my very first posts in this community of this conversion, and this video is all about that finally coming to fruition. And the conversion itself isn't monstrously difficult, right? We're going to take the classic Mark III Iron Armor Space Marines and we're going to sort of roughly get these guns to fit in the Mark III armor bolter arms, right? So off screen I've assembled the bodies and the legs. I've assembled the guns themselves. It comes in, I think it's like 4 or 5 different bits. Just clean them all up, file all the rough edges, all that good stuff. The difficulty with this conversion comes with the fact that these arms for the Mark III Iron Armor set do not want to hold anything that's not a bolter at the end of the day. They're used to holding these very small guns very close to the chest. And we're kind of having to sort of butcher it and twist them in such a way that they will hold a much bigger gun much further away from the body. Now, the left arm on each of these Marines, this is the pivotal bit, right? This is what's going to take the majority of the weight, and we can just glue it straight to the body. The difficulty comes in the right arm, and this is where you'll see me struggle quite a bit in this video, because it's all about kind of point-to-point connection. We're using plastic glue throughout this entire conversion process. And honestly, I highly recommend, if you're going to make a squad like this, do them 5 at a time, 10 at a time. Don't just try and do one, because you're going to struggle as you wait for the plastic glue to fully set and harden. But once you've got that left arm in place, it can take the weight of the shrapnel cannon. It can take the weight of the frag cannon, whilst, as you can see, point to point, the upper right shoulder barely touching the body, the lower right vambrace barely touching the wrist of the hand. But that's the thing, we only need a little contact, because we can do green stuff work, we can do, a bit of gap filling later, that's fine. But this is why I'm not using super glue or something in this conversion, because I need these bonds to be strong. And once we've got that roughly in place, the trick to filling a big gap like this, we're going to use a bit of sprue, cut it to look like a little wedge, like a little doorstop, and just stick that in the elbow, stick that in the joint. Because this is the whole thing about these kind of conversions. Shoulder pads hide a lot. They hide a lot of mess. But this is the pivotal thing. You get that gun in place, and you can decorate the rest of the model as much as you like. It's all about getting the arms to hold the weapons that they're not designed to hold. And that's part of this challenge. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I love this squad of 10 guys. Because when they're finished, when they're all in place, when the guns are all held level, man, they look fierce on the table. Because we're used to seeing heavy bolters, we're used to seeing big guns. We're not used to seeing heavy bolters shooting what look like grenades, bolt rounds the size of grenades at the enemy. I love them, and I have used them in a game since. I've had my very first 2,000 point game of Horus Heresy 2nd edition, and I love it. I absolutely love the system. It takes me right back to getting into 40k when I was a kid, because the mechanics, the kind of keyword system, it's all the same. It's what I grew up with. But honestly, you can just go to town with these guys. Now, in terms of upgrades as a unit, they all come. Iron Havocs come with shrapnel bolters as a standard, so you don't have to spend the extra points to turn a heavy bolter into a shrapnel cannon, right? More often than not, people just upgrade straight past it to an auto cannon or a las cannon or something like that. And I get it. The squad can take a Vexilla, the squad can take a Vox. On the Sergeant, strangely enough, even though I've modelled a Vox caster, as you can see here, I've also stuck an augury scanner to his waistband. That's the upgrade that they can take. They can take an augury scanner or Auspex. So yeah, bit of a dud unit with that guy, but this is the thing. All of a sudden, they're done. Something that was like, what, 8 months in the making, it's finally finished, and I love them. And this is the whole thing about taking something like the frag cannon as a base and working it up. You can have that old versus new. You can have that, chunkier looking weapon on the converted character. I mean, with Rodicrus, I had to cut his head off. I had to twist it to look side on, because I like my Marines to be looking in the direction that they're shooting. So a bit of green stuff work around the back of the helmet. But there's something incredibly satisfying about taking an Imperial Fist hero and corrupting it and turning it into an Iron Warrior champion. They don't have any of their decals yet. I'm still going through. It's why there's no hazard stripes on these guys. These are an elite unit. They're not rank and file. They don't need to be covered in hazard stripes. But they will have elite unit markings. It's why both shoulder pads are black. But yeah, as I said, I've had my very first 2k game. This video is not going to talk about that, but stay tuned, because that video will be coming up shortly. As always, my friends, thank you all for watching. Iron without.